We evaluated over 200 clothing brands, their factories, their materials, their stitching under a microscope, and only 8 survived. 8 out of more than 200. The rest, exposed by their own supply chains. Because the only clothing brands you can still trust in 2026 fit on your fingers, and the Buy It for Life list is shorter than the industry wants you to believe. Some of the names that made it will genuinely shock you. A couple of them cost less than what you're wearing right now. And the brands that didn't make the cut, including a few you probably have hanging in your closet, are going to hurt. Here's the uncomfortable reality about the clothing industry in 2026. The average garment is now designed to last roughly 10 washes before it starts losing structural integrity. Not 10 years, not 10 months, 10 wash cycles. That's according to textile durability studies conducted across European consumer testing agencies. And when you understand that number, everything about how the fashion industry prices its products starts to unravel. A t-shirt with a bill of materials under $3 retailing for $65. Jeans made from fabric so thin a cobbler in Austin told me he can't even patch them anymore because the surrounding denim tears when he runs a needle through it. We're living in an era where the average American spends more on clothing annually than at any point in history, adjusted for inflation, and owns garments that last a fraction as long as what their parents bought. The math is brutal. You're spending more to own less. So we went deep. Factory audits, tear-down analysis, independent fabric testing, resale value tracking over 5-year windows, community feedback from repair professionals, tailors, and the people on forums who actually put thousands of hours into the garments they wear. The goal was simple. Find the brands that still respect your money. What we found is a list of 8 and a graveyard of brands that used to belong on it. Before we get to the 8, you need to understand who didn't make the cut and why their fall from grace matters more than you think. First, let's talk about J. Crew. This is the one that stings the most for a lot of people. Pre-2014 J. Crew was a genuinely solid brand. Their broken-in chinos were a staple. Their Oxford cloth button-downs punched well above their price point. Then came the leveraged buyout. The debt load ballooned past $2 billion, and suddenly the incentive wasn't to make great clothes. It was to service debt. Quality got quietly hollowed out. Thread counts dropped. Fabrics got thinner. The brand started running what felt like permanent 40% off sales, which is a classic red flag. It means the original price was never real. Today, based on our material analysis, you're looking at roughly $9 to $12 worth of garment selling for $60 to $90. The margins aren't going to be quality. They're going to interest payments on corporate debt you didn't sign up for. Next, and this one's controversial, Levi's. Before anyone gets defensive, understand we're talking about mainline Levi's, the stuff you find at department stores and the website. Not Levi's vintage clothing, not the made and crafted line. Mainline Levi's 501s today are not what your dad wore. Production has been spread across factories in multiple countries with wildly inconsistent quality controls. The denim weight has decreased noticeably over the past decade. A repair tailor in Brooklyn I spoke with estimated she sees 3 times as many blown-out Levi's crotches as she did 10 years ago on jeans that are half as old. That's not nostalgia talking. That's measurable decline. The brand name is coasting on a reputation that the current product doesn't consistently earn. The North Face is another painful one. Their Nuptse jacket became a streetwear status symbol, and the moment that happened, the brand's incentive shifted from performance to hype. When you break down the cost structure of a $300 lifestyle jacket, independent estimates suggest the materials and assembly run somewhere around $40 to $55. The rest is marketing, licensing, and a logo tax that would make a luxury house blush. Their actual mountaineering gear, the Summit series, still holds up. But that's not what most people are buying. Most people are buying the logo. And finally, All Saints. A brand that built its entire identity around the aesthetic of rugged leather jackets and moody retail stores. The problem? Based on publicly available supplier data and community teardowns, the leather quality on many of their pieces doesn't remotely justify the $400 to $600 price tags. We're talking corrected grain leather, which means the natural surface was sanded off and an artificial texture printed on top, at full grain prices. It looks the part in the store. It won't look the part in 2 years. Now, here's where things get interesting, because the brands that earn this list aren't always the ones you'd expect. Some are heritage names, some are companies you may have never encountered. All of them passed every filter we could throw at them. Number 8. Darn Tough Vermont. Starting with socks might seem unusual, but hear me out. This company does something almost no clothing brand on earth is willing to do. They offer an unconditional lifetime warranty. Not lifetime, with asterisks and fine print. Unconditional. You wear a hole through them in 6 months or 6 years. You send them back, they replace them. Free. Their socks are knit in Northfield, Vermont, on machines they own, using merino wool they source directly. The retail price, typically $15 to $25, seems high. For socks, until you realize it's the last time you'll ever pay for that pair. Cost per wear over a decade makes these the cheapest socks you'll ever own. That warranty isn't marketing, it's a company betting on its own product. And that bet tells you everything. Number 7. Filson. Founded in Seattle in 1897 to outfit prospectors heading to the Klondike Gold Rush. And their Mackinaw wool cruiser jacket is still made using essentially the same pattern. Filson's secret is boring, which is exactly why it works. They use heavy fabrics, overbuilt stitching, and they don't chase trends. Their rugged twill bags use a cotton and synthetic blend, so dense it's practically weatherproof. A well-maintained Filson bag will outlast a marriage. Resale data backs this up. 5-year-old Filson pieces routinely sell for 60 to 70% of retail on secondary markets. That kind of value retention is nearly unheard of outside of luxury handbags. Number 6. Asket. This is the transparency play. Asket, a Swedish company, publishes the full cost breakdown of every single garment they sell. Not vaguely, specifically. Fabric cost, labor cost, transport, their own margin, all of it, right on the product page. When a brand volunteers that level of transparency, it means they're confident the numbers won't embarrass them. Their t-shirts use long staple Egyptian cotton with reinforced seams, and they actively discourage overbuying by offering a small, permanent collection instead of seasonal drops. In an industry built on manufactured urgency, Asket is the brand saying no. The evidence suggests that the model rewards the consumer, not the shareholder. Number 5. Patagonia. You expected this, but maybe not for the reasons you think. The environmental angle gets all the press, but what doesn't get enough attention is their ironclad guarantee, and how aggressively they invest in repairability. Patagonia operates the largest garment repair facility in North America. They processed tens of thousands of repairs in recent years, extending garment lifespans by years. Their Worn Wear program creates a secondary market for their own used products, which means they're actively competing against their own new inventory. No public company would ever do this. Patagonia can, because they restructured their ownership specifically to prioritize this over growth. The gear is legitimately tough, but it's the repair infrastructure behind it that earns the trust. These are the kinds of truths brands hope you never discover. If this is valuable to you, consider subscribing. We break down industry secrets every single week so you can stop overpaying and start buying smarter. Number 4. Ironheart. Japanese denim made in Okayama Prefecture, on shuttle looms that most manufacturers abandoned decades ago because they're slower and more expensive to operate. Ironheart's signature is their heavyweight denim, often 21 ounces per square yard, which is nearly double the weight of most commercial jeans. That weight translates directly to longevity. Enthusiast forums are filled with Ironheart jeans at 3, 5, even 7 years of heavy wear still going strong. The price, typically $300 to $400, is real money. But the cost per year math makes these some of the most affordable jeans you can buy if you're measuring value by how long they actually last. Number 3. Red Wing Heritage. specifically the Heritage line, the Beckman, the Iron Ranger, the Mock Toe. These boots are Goodyear welted, which means the sole is stitched to the upper in a way that allows it to be completely replaced. A single pair of Iron Rangers can be resolved 4 or 5 times. At a resolving cost of around $80 to $120, you're looking at a boot with a potential lifespan of 15 to 20 years for a total investment that comes out to roughly $30 to $40 a year. Compare that to a $150 fashion boot that hits a landfill in 18 months. The leather is tanned at their own SB Foot Tanning Company in Red Wing, Minnesota. Vertical integration at this level means they control quality from raw hide to finished product, and that control shows. Number 2, Outlier. Most people haven't heard of them, and that's part of why they're on this list. Outlier is a small New York-based company making technical clothing, pants, shirts, and outerwear built from fabrics engineered for performance but designed to look like normal clothes. Their Strong Darts use a 4-way stretch fabric that independent wear testing suggests holds its shape and color through hundreds of wash cycles. They produce in limited quantities, they rarely do sales, and their pricing reflects actual material and construction costs rather than brand mythology. When you buy Outlier, you're not subsidizing a marketing department. You're paying for fabric R&D and careful construction. The enthusiast community around this brand is fanatically loyal, and the resale market, where pieces frequently sell above retail, tells you everything about demand versus supply. And number 1, Schott NYC. This is the brand that has been making leather jackets since 1913. They invented the motorcycle jacket, not helped popularize, invented. The Perfecto, the jacket Brando wore, the jacket that defined an entire subculture, was their design. And here's what matters. They still manufacture in the United States. Their factory is in New Jersey. The leather they use, primarily cowhide and steerhide, is sourced domestically whenever possible. A new Schott Perfecto runs between $700 and $1,000, which sounds like a lot until you see them on resale markets 30 years later selling for the same price or more. These jackets do not depreciate. They don't fall apart. They develop a patina that actually increases their character, and in many cases, their value. Based on our analysis, Schott represents the purest expression of what buy it for life actually means. A product built so well that time makes it better, not worse. So what does this list actually tell us about where clothing is headed? It tells us that trust has become the scarcest commodity in fashion. More scarce than high-quality leather. More scarce than Japanese selvage denim. Most brands today are optimized for one thing, getting you to buy again in 3 months. The 8 brands on this list are optimized for the opposite. They want the thing you bought to last so long that when you finally come back because you trust them, not because your jacket fell apart. Here's what you should take away from this. First, price is not quality. Some of the worst offenders in our analysis charge luxury prices for garments with the structural integrity of a paper bag. Second, look for warranties and repair programs. A brand that stands behind its product with an actual guarantee is a brand that trusts its own work. Third, check the resale market. If a brand's products hold value 5 years out, that's the market telling you the quality is real. Fourth, transparency is a green flag. If a brand publishes its supply chain, its cost breakdown, or its factory locations, they're inviting scrutiny because they can withstand it. And fifth, buy less, buy better. 8 brands. That's the list. You don't need 40 options. You need the right ones. The era of trusting a logo is over. The era of trusting evidence is just getting started. If this changed how you think about your closet, drop which brand surprised you most in the comments. And if there's a brand you think earned a spot on this list, or one you think we let off too easily, I want to hear it. The conversation doesn't stop here.